Ma'am, this collection starts at $12,000. I think you should look somewhere else. My son arranged this for me. I have the pickup slip. The What More chair under Whitfield. Sure he did. Ma'am, please don't make this harder than it has to be.
On a Tuesday afternoon in Asheville, North Carolina, a woman in a worn wool coat stood at the counter of a furniture boutique, holding a pickup slip in her hand. The store manager looked at her for exactly 4 seconds before deciding she didn't belong there. "Ma'am, this collection starts at $12,000. The manager told her. "I really think you should look somewhere else." The woman didn't move. "My son arranged this for me," she said quietly. "I have the slip, the Whit More chair under Whitfield." The manager laughed, just under her breath. "Sure, he did. Please don't make this harder than it has to be." What neither woman in that room understood yet was this. In 14 minutes, the customer being laughed toward the door would own every chair inside that building, including the one the manager was about to sit in to call security. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. To understand what happened that afternoon, you have to understand who Diane Whitfield was. For 31 years, she taught second grade in a small town outside Asheville. Her son's father left before he turned 3, and from that point on, Diane raised him alone, working a second job most winters just to keep the heat running through January. Friends who knew her then describe a woman who rarely spoke about her own struggles, who showed up to every school event on time and left every grocery bill paid in full, even when it meant going without something herself. She retired 3 months before the events in this story. There was one thing she'd promised herself for years: a hand-carved rocking chair, the kind her own mother once owned, the kind a person finally earns the right to sit in once the years of carrying everyone else have eased. Her son Marcus had arranged it. He'd called ahead, paid in full, and told her the chair would be ready and waiting at Lenox and Cole, a furniture house downtown. She wore her good coat that day. It happened to be 12 years old. She had no reason to think that would matter to anyone. She was about to learn otherwise. Brittany Hale had managed the sales floor at Lenox and Cole for 3 years. By her own account afterward, she had a system for reading customers the moment they walked through the door. That system told her, within seconds, that Diane Whitfield was not someone worth her time. "Can I help you find the exit?" she asked. Diane held out the slip. "I'm here to pick up an order. It's right here." Brittany barely looked at it. "This isn't how our system works, ma'am. I'm going to need you to step aside." A junior employee named Jasmine reached toward the order terminal to check the name herself, a small, almost reflexive act of fairness. Brittany's glance was enough to stop her hand before it reached the keyboard. Nearby, an older customer named Ruth had been listening. "She showed you a slip," Ruth said. "Just look it up." "This doesn't concern you, ma'am," Brittany answered without turning around. It was not the first time in Diane's life that a room had decided her worth before she'd said a word. She had spent 3 decades teaching 8-year-olds not to do exactly this to one another. She never expected, at 58, to need that lesson herself in a furniture store on an ordinary Tuesday. She stepped outside, sat on a bench, and called her son. Not for rescue, just confused and quietly embarrassed by how much it stung. "Marcus, honey," she said, her voice unsteady. "I think there's been some kind of mix-up at the store." What Diane didn't know was that her son already owned the building she was sitting outside of. Marcus Whitfield had acquired Lenox and Cole 11 months earlier, one of several small companies he'd quietly rebuilt over the years, always staying out of the spotlight. Most of the staff inside had never met him in person. He still remembered, more clearly than almost anything else from his childhood, his mother coming home in her work boots, smelling like the diner she waitressed at, too tired to take her coat off before she sat down to grade papers at the kitchen table. He'd already planned to stop by that morning, unannounced, the way he preferred. When he turned the corner and saw her sitting alone on the bench outside the glass doors, coat pulled tight, eyes red, something in him went very still. He didn't run. He didn't raise his voice. He simply walked inside. Inside, Brittany was recounting the encounter to a coworker, describing how she'd handled the situation, when the door opened behind her. "I'm here to pick up a Whittam or rocking chair," Marcus said, his voice calm and even. Should be under the name Whitfield. Jasmine's eyes widened immediately. She'd seen his name on the ownership transfer memo 11 months earlier and recognized it on sight. Mr. Whitfield. Of course. Right this way. Brittany turned. Whitfield. That's the same name as the woman I just... The sentence never finished. By the accounts of those in the store that day, the color left her face all at once. The same woman you told to find the exit, Marcus said. My mother. Behind them, Ruth lowered the lamp she'd been pretending to examine, watching the whole exchange unfold. Marcus asked her only one question. Would you have spoken to her that way if you'd known who she was? Brittany had no answer. By every account, there wasn't one to give. The door opened again. Diane had come back inside, some instinct telling her that her son needed her more in that moment than she needed an apology. Marcus, don't, she said. Mom, I know exactly what she did, Diane said. I taught school for 31 years. I know what it looks like when someone's never been taught better, and I know what it looks like when someone refuses to learn it. Give her the chance to show you which one she is. Brittany was not fired that day. She kept her position but lost her title, and was required to sit through the same respect and inclusion training given to every new hire at Lennox & Cole, this time in the front row. Whether she became a different person after that morning was, in the end, entirely up to her. Marcus carried his mother's rocking chair to her car himself. Today, Diane Whitfield sits in that chair on her porch most evenings, just as the light starts to turn gold over the hills outside Asheville. She rarely brings up what happened that afternoon at Lennox & Cole anymore. But every so often, in the quiet, she remembers something she used to tell her students every single year. Kindness doesn't cost you anything, she'd say, but it tells you everything about who you are. If the story moved you, tell us in the comments, have you ever been judged for something that had nothing to do with who you really are? And if you'd like more stories like Diane's, stay subscribed. There's another one coming soon.